A person who believes he knows everything without actually understanding anything will be the one to destroy civilization, not a barbarian. This succinctly captures the essence of José Ortega's examination of the contemporary individual. Despite not being taken directly from his writings, the line effectively condenses and projects his ideas into the present. This is powerfully implied by Ortega in The Revolt of the Masses, in which he presents a novel and contradictory character. The normal guy is both intelligent and uneducated, active and passive, seemingly content but oblivious to the world that supports him. This individual is not your average ignorant idiot. He is most commonly a professional, a technician, or a specialist. However, his knowledge is limited, confined, and unrelated to any wider perspective on the world. According to Ortega, he is a learned ignoramus. He is an expert in his speciality and nothing else. What's more, he doesn't want to know. He doesn't think he has to. He feels that his knowledge is sufficient for him to live, to judge, and to reign. And it is precisely this mentality that signals the start of the end of civilization. Because hubris is generated by technical knowledge devoid of critical thinking, and the most deadly combination a complicated society may encounter is ignorance combined with arrogance. At this point, Ortega begins to develop his analysis of the mass man. Not only does this new historical type inhabit civilization, but it also consumes it without comprehension, inhabits it without concern, and regards it as though it were everlasting. In May 1883, José Ortega y Gasset was born in Madrid, Spain, which was still mired in provincialism and cultural isolation. He was first exposed to the world of academia by his father, a liberal newspaper editor. He was raised in a society that hardly looked outside its boundaries. The typical madrileño of the era, Ortega himself would later say, was too preoccupied with the passive pleasure of his own life to venture outside the boundaries of his own neighborhood. Something breaks in this situation. The necessity of taking in all that Spain was neglecting. It should come as no surprise that he relocated to Germany in 1905 with the goal of absorbing German culture. His education took a distinct turn as he studied at Leipzig, Berlin, and Marburg, using philosophy as a means to examine actual, concrete reality rather than as an abstract theory. He quickly obtained a position in metaphysics after returning to Madrid, but for him, public involvement and academia were always intertwined. He established the Revista de Occidente and penned a number of works in a straightforward language that exposed the issue facing the modern individual by fusing politics, philosophy, and culture. By doing this, Ortega became one of the 20th century's most important intellectuals. He was sent into exile when the Spanish Civil War started in 1936. He resided in Portugal, the Netherlands, Argentina, and France. Despite criticism from his supporters for accepting the Franco regime's permission to return, he didn't return to Madrid until 1946. At the age of 63, on October 18, 1955, he passed away in the Spanish capital at the age of 72 from a coronary thrombosis. However, Ortega's biography is not his true legacy. It's his incisive, uncompromising assessment of the state of humanity today. I am who I am and what I am. This sums up his whole impression of the person. A human being is not a singular entity. Rather, they are the result of their birth and behavior. Everything that surrounds us is considered a circumstance. Institutions, historical periods, social roles, values, and physical reality. And it is up to each individual to turn that situation into a project. That's the start of freedom. It is placed freedom not absolute or abstract executed within predetermined parameters by ingenuity, imagination, and tangible action. However, what occurs if the person relinquishes that freedom? Ortega's response was obvious: when someone accepts the world as it is without questioning it or creating a project for it, the mass man is created. Ortega's harshest criticism focuses on the mass man. It is neither a social class nor a sociological idea. It's a human type, an attitude that transcends ignorance and education, money and poverty. It's the individual who, despite living happily in liberal democracies, technological and scientific wealth, is unaware of its origins. According to him, institutions, liberties, and rights are inherent, unassailable, and untouchable. He either doesn't know or acts as though he doesn't know that they are the result of centuries of sacrifice, struggle, and error. He confuses nature with civilization. This individual lives on autopilot, dismisses complexity, and no longer questions anything. As passive as the mass, Ortega believes that the mindset of the masses rather than their size is the problem. The people don't just follow for the first time in history. They desire to be in charge. They seek the right to ignorance and the right to rudeness. They want that their mediocrity become the standard, in addition to believing that they are wonderful, and the real crisis of civilization starts with this change. Because the mass man is in charge today. The right to be wrong is a horrible novelty that our period can brag about. It is the giving up of discussion, argument, and the search for the truth. It is the result of conceited specialization, ignorant opinion, and ideological simplifying. The average person is not illiterate. He is the hyper-specialized specialist who is an expert in his speciality and knows nothing else. He is a barbarian in a business suit, an educated ignoramus, a politician who disregards history, an engineer who believes he knows the world, and a scientist who disregards philosophy. The real illness of Western civilization is concealed under this figure. Cultural elites, creative minorities, and really revolutionary generations have all vanished, along with historical awareness and any broader perspective. Because, as Ortega tells us, history is never propelled forward by the masses. They are always unique individuals with the power to change the prevailing ideologies of their era. People who are brave and creative enough to force novel concepts on a receptive audience. Society deteriorates and history stagnates when these innovative minorities vanish. Ortega demanded a new philosophy, a reform of thought, and a vital reason that could bring together scientific knowledge and the tangible experience of existence in order to save the West. A mode of thought that analyzes institutions, values, and beliefs in addition to reflecting on existence in order to restore personal freedom and dignity. However, he cautioned that this is impossible without a keen sense of self-criticism and the capacity to identify errors, illusions, and false certainties. Just like the lungs needed oxygen, the concept needs to be criticized. His 1930 book The Revolt of the Masses is arguably the most obvious attempt in 20th century philosophy to highlight this deterioration. It's not a prophecy. It's a diagnosis. The disease is the abdication of personal accountability. Rediscovering freedom as dedication, endeavor, and project is the remedy. Accepting one's inevitable situation and using it to further one's career is what gives life its meaning. Civilization will not be destroyed by an outside adversary. The average man will be the one to quit thinking. The man who has everything but no idea what to want. The man who is loud, passive, and content. This is Ortega's most potent and relevant observation, and it continues to serve as a warning. Every individual today must decide whether to belong to the majority or the minority, that may one day actually have the power to change things.